As of today, it has now been more than a year since I released a video called PS2 in 2022, a video where I went over the PS2 and my personal opinion and advice if you should buy it in 2022 or not. If you haven't watched that video, keep it that way, it's really not that good. It's for that exact reason that today I'm making PS2 in 2023, so strap back and let's take a look at this amazing console in today's day and age. Did you grow up in the early 2000s? Were you into gaming? If so, there's a high chance you had one of these two. The legendary PS2, half video game machine, half DVD player, released in the 4th of March of 2022, the PS2 was an absolute powerhouse that many lucky kids of my age were lucky to grow up with. If you grew up with it, there's a high chance you still have yours at your disposition to hook up and start playing. If you don't, make sure to grab a PS2 for cheap at your local Facebook Market, eBay or local retro game stores. Back when I bought my second PS2, they usually cost around the €30 mark, but they might go up to the 50 or 60 nowadays if you count for inflation. You might be asking yourself, which one of the PS2s should I buy, the slim or the fat one? Well, it's honestly up to you. The slim one is the quieter one and has more colors available if you want to collect multiple of it. I personally still want a silver and a pink one. The fat one, on the other hand, is really good when it comes to modding. Nowadays you can even hook up a really big hard drive to it with hundreds of ROMs, so you don't even need the discs to play the games. Despite all of that, it really trickles down to whatever you prefer. If you're getting back into the PS2 or maybe even getting into PS2 for the first time, I think it's better if I tell you right off the bat that you should not be expecting a good image quality out of the PS2, especially if you're going to play it on a modern TV. That's just how things are. No matter how nostalgic you are about it, the PS2 has bad image quality. There are, however, some things you can do to make your experience a little bit better. First of all, the simple solution is component cables. Not the red, white, yellow cords, but the blue, red, green ones that provide a much better image quality than the composite. These ones are a cheap solution if you just want something to hook your console up to your TV. Now, if you are going to go hardcore into making this look as good as it can, there are some options for you. OSSC, RetroTink and Rad2X, all of these components or cables are specifically made to improve the resolution of the PS2, making it look way better than it originally does. Some of these can even be used with multiple consoles, making your purchase even better if you play other retro consoles. However, these come at a cost that can range high into the hundreds, so be prepared to dish out some money if you want to get the most out of your PS2 image quality. Moving on to the games, there is not much to be said that hasn't already been said. The PS2 had a life cycle of 12 years, with its last game being Pro Evolution Soccer 2014, which released in November of 2013. That means there are almost 14 years of PS2 games out there for you to choose from. That includes games from every genre you can imagine, with incredible house names like Ratchet & Clank, Jak and Daxter, Street Fighter, Persona, Dragon Ball, Star Wars. I mean, I honestly could go on for hours telling you all about the greatest titles of the PS2. All I want you to know is that choice isn't going to be what you're lacking if this is your console of preference from now on. As for the prices of these games, honestly, only the rarer ones tend to go for high prices or even over market value. If you're looking for games that everyone had, since they were mass produced, it is most probable that you will find a good amount of games at acceptable prices. I myself bought a great part of my collection for the amazing price of €10 and under, and I personally have more than 100 PS2 games. The main places where you should be looking are eBay, Facebook Marketplace, other marketplace apps your country might use, and local retro game stores. If you have any in your area, seriously, support local retro game stores. As someone who doesn't have one where they live, I can tell you how much I wish one existed here right now. Now let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room: emulation. Well, to be honest with you, if you want to do it, just do it. I personally am a game collector and I do both. I see no harm in emulating if you want to, and I also see no harm in sticking to the physical thing. If you want to emulate, just make sure you're using PCSX2, since it's the best emulator out there. Overall, the PS2 is a banger of a console, and no one will be able to convince me otherwise as long as I'm alive. It was a console I and most people in their 20s played growing up, and I think the only reason we remember it as well as we do is because of the amount of quality games and times it provided us. If you're looking into getting into retro gaming, I think the PS2 is the way to do it, and I can officially say it has my RetroDan seal of approval. Well, I hope you enjoyed this reiteration of my 1-year-old PS2 video, and I hope it somehow convinced you to try out the PS2. Make sure to comment down below what you think about this console. I always love hearing all about it, but other than that, this has been the Retro Dan, and I'm out.